If God is for us, then who the is against us? Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top.
Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot.
As it stands today, the black community has almost 3 million businesses. However, 95% of those businesses are single employee businesses, meaning they're owned and controlled by one person. What that tells me is that 95% of the value of the businesses in our community are tied up into the life of one person. And so if something happens to that person, the value is gone. And so I spend a lot of time thinking, how do we protect and harvest the value of those business owners so that it doesn't get lost in our community? Because if we're going to close the racial wealth gap, an important component of that is entrepreneurship and business ownership. Unfortunately, so many times, even though we have an entrepreneurial mindset, we don't always extract the value out of those businesses. I work with business owners every day, and one of the underlying things that all business owners understand is that the value of a business is in the independence from the owner. Meaning that business does not have any value unless it is truly independent from the person that owns it, that it can truly operate and run without the business owner being there. And so the question is, how do we make that happen? How do we create businesses in our community that have value outside of the owner themselves? And I've created the solution, something that I call the HBCU process, the HBCUs of business, from hustle to business to company to unlimited value. See, a hustle is nothing but an informal, unorganized business. But a business is nothing but a formalized, organized hustle. So if you have something you're good at, you have something you like doing, you have something that you know how to make money at, the first step is to formalize it and organize it. Because I don't care how much money you make, if there's no organized process, if you are not formalized, it's just a hustle. And see, what happens is a lot of times in our community, we find something that we know how to make money doing, and we make as much money as possible. You can make millions of dollars with a hustle, but it has no value outside of your life. And so the first step is to formalize and organize. The first thing you want to do is formalize your hustle. Formalize it in the eyes of the financial system and of the legal system. That means have all of your paperwork, have all of your filings, choose the right business entity, make sure you have a bank account, make sure you have all of the proper documents for the business that you're running. Make sure that you are a formalized, legitimate business. Nobody's going to buy your hustle. And once you have everything formalized, now you are legitimate in the eyes of the law. Now you can grow. Now you can scale. Now you can borrow funds and ask for capital. Now you can acquire investors because you are formalized. Once you formalize yourself, the next step to turn that hustle into a business is to organize it. Create a consistent and repeatable process. You can't have one interaction with one customer or client and then somebody else have the exact opposite experience. You have to have consistency. I always tell people it doesn't matter if you're going to Chick-fil-A in Texas or in California, the experience is going to be the same because they have created a consistent delivery process. And if you want to grow a legitimate business that has value, you have to create consistency through a formalized, organized process. And so again, the first step is to turn that hustle into a business by formalizing and organizing it. Now, once you have a business, the problem is you're still doing everything. You have a legitimate, organized, and formalized business, but you're still doing all the marketing. You're still doing all the sales. You're still doing the accounting. You're running the business. You are the business. And so the next step is to take that business and turn it into a company. And the way that you do that is by automating, delegating, and separating yourself from the business. No matter what kind of business it is, you have to find a way to automate a process, delegate tasks, and separate yourself from the operations of the business. That's how you create value. You can have two businesses, both that are generating $5 million in sales. One of those businesses, the business owner is responsible for the sales. He makes sure everything gets put through, and he follows up on the back end. The other business has an operational process to make all those things happen while the business owner is on vacation. That business is going to be way more valuable than the one that the business owner does everything in, even though they do the same amount in sales. Because he has automated, delegated, and separated himself from the process. So if somebody buys that business, guess what? They can walk into a situation where they don't have to do that much work. But if I buy the business of the person that's doing everything, I'm essentially buying a job. And so that business is going to be devalued. And so in turning your business into a company, you want to find things to automate, things that do not require a human decision, things that do not generate revenue. Find ways to automate that. Find things to delegate, whether it's to employees that you have or technology or virtual assistants. There's enough technology now to be able to help you even if you can't afford employees. Delegate those tasks so that you can focus on what you do best or what makes you money. And lastly, separate yourself from the business. Don't feel the need that you have to do everything. My firm did not take off until I decided I didn't need to do everything and I could delegate tasks. That is how you turn a business into a company. Once you have a company, now you can go to scale. Jeff Bezos doesn't have to go into the Amazon office every day. It runs itself. It has value outside of him. That is the goal, to create something that has value outside of yourself that you can either sell on the open market or transfer down to the next generation. And so you turn that business into a company. And now once you have a company, you can create unlimited value. You can grow to scale. You can partner. You can strategically buy up the value chain because now you have time. Now you have created an entity that can operate without you having to be there. And now you have time to be strategic. Now you can think about how to get to the next level. Now you can think about how to scale. You can think about how to create unlimited value for you and your family. You can't do that when you're hustling. You can't do that when you're doing everything. But once you have created a company, something that holds value, now you can create unlimited value. That is the HBCU process, from hustle to business to company to unlimited value. We have a tremendous opportunity right now. There was a wealth transfer that is happening as we speak. Trillions of dollars of businesses being transferred or sold to the next generation, assets being liquidated. And if you have an entrepreneur mindset, if you have a business owner mindset, the opportunity is now to take advantage of it. But you want to do it strategically. And you want to accumulate wealth by owning things of value. From hustle to business to company to unlimited value. That's how we close the wealth gap in one generation. With those types of innovations, that is how we close the wealth gap in one generation. Because this is the thing. There is a wealth gap, but they don't have a value gap. There is no gap in value in our community. We have the value. We have the ideas. We have the innovations. We have the work ethic. We just have to turn it into wealth. We are the creators of everything. We just have to turn it into wealth with our decision making, with our discipline, and with our financial acumen. And if we do those things, I have no doubt we'll close the wealth gap and change our circumstances as a community. That's my show, Wealth Mindset. I'll see you next time.